All right, some of you know this guy from his work on PHL 17 and elsewhere. Some of you may not, so let me introduce you to him. He hosted the PHL 17 sports scene the last couple of years. He does various other things at Channel 17. You can catch him most weekends playing some great music on Oldies XL, and by all accounts, he's a great guy. Welcome to Philly Pressbox Radio, Jason Lee. How you doing, Jason?
Chet, the check is in the mail, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate the intro, and I appreciate the invite. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll talk Eagles and Phillies in just a bit, but how long have you been at PHL 17 and what have you not done there?
Oh, let's see. I haven't collected the trash, but that could still happen. You never know. I've done pretty much everything there. It's been almost 9 years. I was the weatherman for a little while. I filled in doing traffic. I've anchored a couple times. Honestly, I'm a terrible anchor, and it's been like 7 years since they used me to fill in for anchoring. And like you said, for 2 years I hosted Sports Scene. So that show was a dream come true. It didn't last as long as I had hoped it would, but you know the way that this business is, Chet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm grateful I got to do it, and it was a blast. And it could be back. You never know.
Yeah, and even though the show is not airing anymore, at least you still have a job, and that's more than some people can say in this business.
Well, that's why, I mean, I'm not going to complain. I was sad when I was told the show was going away, and I understood. I mean, we got the CW network, so it's all that primetime programming that the CW has. There wasn't as much room for the existing shows, so some shows had to go, and I get that. But yeah, I'm grateful to still be there. It's a great place to work. There's wonderful people there. And, you know, I'm involved with the morning news, and I'm a little biased, of course, but I like the product that we put out every day. So I think it's pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a little while, but let's talk about that week one Eagles victory. I mean, any
Do we
win
have to?
is a good win in the NFL. See, there you go, right there. But yeah, they did not look all that great on either side of the ball in the 25-20 victory on Sunday. Obviously, you agree. Why did they not look too sharp?
Well, okay, this is going to go back to an argument that I've had for the last couple of years, and I don't know how you feel about this, Chet.
Preseason, getting
Yes,
guys. Yeah.
yes, and I know Sirianni said something about that in his press conference, but look, I get the main thing is get through without getting hurt. I understand that, but then you're shaking off the rust in games 1, 2, and 3, and this is what you get. To me, injuries are a part of the game. And no, I don't want to see Jalen Hurts, God forbid, or anybody else get hurt in the preseason. But you know, I kind of think you need real game action before you step into a real game. You need something like these joint practices that I guess are now taking the place of the preseason games. To me, it's not the same.
And you have DeAndre Swift, 2 touches. Dallas Goedert, invisible man for the most part, even though apparently he was open a few times. That's got to change.
He was wide open a few times. Yeah, it does have to change. And, you know, the play calling, yeah, definitely left a lot to be desired. And, you know, I don't know if that's part of shaking off the rust. I don't know what it is, but you got a guy like Dallas Goedert. What did he have? 1 target the entire game, Chet? Is that what it was?
Yes, he did. 1 target, and as you said, he was open a few other times, and either Jalen missed him or just ignored him for some reason. And yeah, they got to fix that.
Yeah, and is Gainwell going to be the feature back now? I mean, it
sure
certainly
looked like
seemed
it.
like that, didn't it?
Although he apparently got banged up a little bit, ribs or whatever. Hopefully he'll be okay for Thursday night. Quick turnaround. That's another thing. And Kobe Dean is likely going to be out for that game with a foot injury. So 1 game in, there's already some injury concerns. So hopefully not too serious, because big game Thursday night, the home opener. And do the Vikings scare you at all?
No. I guess Cousins didn't have that bad of a game for game
His
1.
numbers are pretty good, certainly.
Yeah, his numbers were pretty good.
But they lost.
I really don't. I don't. I guess I don't know how to answer that question based on how the Eagles looked on Sunday. The offense has to get it together. Jalen Hurts, we all love the guy, but he didn't look good. And what was it in the fourth quarter, that one play call where he held the ball and he took that hit? I mean, you can't be putting him at risk like that. I guess for me, it's a wait and see thing. I want to see if the rust is off on Thursday night, and then I'll feel much better going forward. I'm not going to say I'm pessimistic. I still think they win the game, but I'm not going to say it's a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game.
I still think they're the best team in the NFC, even though the Cowboys certainly looked pretty good Sunday night.
Oh my gosh,
And
they looked
the
amazing.
Niners, who I thought maybe weren't really so good, the Niners looked pretty good in crushing Pittsburgh. That was my upset special. Did not happen.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The Cowboy game, was that more so the Cowboys or more so how bad the Giants are?
Boy, the Giants did not look good at all, but the Cowboys did play very well. They forced some of those turnovers. I'm still not scared of the Cowboys, though. I'm not worried. Not worried.
Okay. I like
Let's
it.
turn our attention to the Phillies. They seem to be still in decent shape to hold on to that top wild card spot, but
Do they?
well, they've had some recent bad losses, a lot of bullpen meltdowns. The good news is they have a favorable schedule down the stretch. Other than this current series with the Braves and another one
Well,
with the
that's
Braves
true.
next week, they have a lot of games against the Cardinals, the Pirates, the stinking Mets. So bad news is the Phillies have not had a winning September, early October since 2017, and they're under 500 here so far early in September. So should we be worried?
I'm worried. I and forgive me because I'm coming off like a pessimistic Philadelphia fan ever since the show began, and I'm usually not pessimistic, Chad. I'm really not. But I there's a lot of questions about this pitching staff, both the
Yeah.
starters and the bullpen.
Yep.
I mean, how many Bryce Harper moments is the bullpen going to mess up? You know,
Oh, man.
that's my question. Aaron Nola. I
Oh,
mean,
man, he's another one. Don't get me started on Aaron Nola. I mean, look, there he is. He looks great sometimes, like 3 starts ago, and then his start last week and his start on Saturday. I had the 5th inning meltdown. I don't know. That they gotta get him right for the postseason if they're gonna have a shot.
well, they got to get him right. They got to get the bullpen right too. I mean, the first game on Monday, they bring in Alvarado. Atlanta gets the lead right away. I've totally given up on Sir Anthony Dominguez. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be of the thinking that you have to keep putting him out there to kind of get himself right.
Now I
But
don't wanna see him out there.
right. I'm past that now. The guy does have a lot of talent. I don't know if it's between the years. I don't know what's going on with him, but they got to get the guy right. Besides Jeff Hoffman, who in the bullpen right now? I mean, even Kimbrel has been shaky since the All-Star break.
Very much, because he's never pitched this many innings since he was, like, 25, and that was quite a long time ago.
Right.
So, yeah, that's definitely a concern, and as you said, the starters, once you get past Wheeler, there are no sure things. Taijuan Walker has been very shaky lately. I know he's got
Yep.
15 wins, but that's because they seem to score a lot of runs for him. I don't feel good about Lorenzen. Boy, they gotta hope they score 10 runs every game in the postseason, I think.
But will that be enough? And will it and listen, and as potent as we think this lineup is, can they score 10 runs, especially once you get into the playoffs and the pitching is better? It seems like lately, if they don't hit home runs, they don't really score very much. They're not really hitting with runners in scoring position. So they're not, as they say, manufacturing runs. So I mean, I'm kind of there's a lot of question marks at a really bad time about both the pitching and about the offense.
Hey, I want to get back to the guy you mentioned, Bryce Harper. I feel badly for him. He hits home run number 300, a week or so back, and
Right.
they end up losing the game.
Yep.
Monday afternoon, he hits that dramatic 9th inning home run to tie the game, and we saw what happened after that.
Yeah.
This guy can't seem to catch a break, but he's doing all he can, and boy, I hope we have a happier ending than it might appear to be at this point.
You know what's great about Bryce Harper? I don't know how he does it, but a guy who makes $26 million a year can somehow relate to the everyday fan, can relate to the average Joe, can relate to you and
Yeah.
me. I mean, the guy is a gazillionaire. He makes more money, in 1 week than you and I will make in I don't know how many years. But at the same time, he's relatable, and I hate to use the cliche, but he's a Philly type guy. He's a hard worker. He puts the time in. He cares. Is he the most clutch player the Phillies have ever had? And
Boy,
it's strange to say because relatively speaking, he hasn't really been here a long time. But is he?
Lenny Dykstra in 1993,
Oh,
maybe,
yeah, that's a
but
good one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, not a whole lot of other ones. Hey, you mentioned Aaron Nola. Is he gonna be with the Phillies next year, do you think?
That's a tough question. I mean, I guess it depends on how much money he's looking for. People will pay for starting pitching, and I have a feeling he's going to get an offer from somewhere else that's going to blow him away, and the Phillies aren't going to want to match it. He's so frustrating because the talent's there, and we've seen flashes of brilliance. He had 2 starts, I guess, earlier, a month or so ago. He had 2 straight starts where we thought maybe he's
Mhm.
starting to come back around. But then, as you said earlier, he went back to his old self, and it seems like every start he has that one bad inning. I mean, he'll be great for innings 1 through 4, but then in the 5th inning, it all implodes, and all of a sudden he's given up 5 runs in 5 innings. So I don't know. I mean, if I had to guess, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he's going to get an offer from somewhere,
Yeah.
and Dave Dombrowski's not going to want to match it.
But he's always healthy, which is good. He's
That's
always
true.
gonna, be in the rotation somewhere. So who knows? We'll see. Hey, let's talk about a few other things because it was too depressing talking about the Eagles so win and the Phillies potential September meltdown.
Yeah.
I got your interview last month, your visit last month to Rosie and Bill's video podcasts. A great
Oh,
half-hour conversation, by the way.
thank you.
And you mentioned that you've never gotten the opportunity to do play-by-play, and you kind of lobbied to give Scott Fransky a few innings off. You don't have like a hit on Scott Fransky, do you?
Oh no. Listen, I love Scott Fransky. I think
We all do.
he's tremendous. His call of the Bryce Harper home run on Monday. Did you hear it? He's like, did he do it again? He
I
did it
did.
again. I
I
mean,
did
it's
actually, yes, because I
oh,
was at work and I didn't get the opportunity to watch it, so I had Fransky on, and he's great. I love Scott. Had him on
he
the show every year, every spring we have him on. He's terrific. Great job.
he's great on the air. He's a hell of a nice guy. No, listen, I'm a big Fransky fan. I'm just thinking if he wants to take a break for an inning, that's all. I've gotten to know LA pretty well. I think we have some good chemistry, right? Why not? Why not?
I
Oh,
love
LA,
LA. That was him and I down in Florida on St. Patrick's Day, as a matter of fact, in our
nice.
green. And yeah, LA is awesome. But you've never done any kind of play-by-play anywhere, huh?
Never did. And it's funny. As I told Rosie and Bill, growing up, the guys who I idolized and the reasons I wanted to get into broadcasting it was all sportscasters. It was Harry Callis, it was Merrill Reese, who I know and I've had him on my show too. He's a great guy. Back in the day, Gene Hart with the Flyers. I love Gene Hart,
Oh
and I
yeah.
was always a big Bob Costas fan. From NBC and now the MLB network. So I've always wanted to do sports, but you know how broadcasting is. You go where the gig is. You take the jobs as they come. I never saw myself as a weatherman, but it happened for a
Mhm.
while. I did a little less than a year as a sports update guy at WIP, but beyond that, and then until I got Sports Scene on PHL, I hadn't done any sports, and I've never done any play-by-play besides as a little kid holding a pencil up to my mouth as a microphone and watching the Phillies and turning down the sound and doing play-by-play to the TV. That was it.
Yeah, we've all done the fake
Yep.
broadcasting stuff. I got to tell you, I was the color analyst for Princeton basketball for a couple of years,
Oh,
way back
wow.
when. And my one and only play-by-play experience was actually calling one period of a Penn State ice hockey game for college radio, and it was a bona fide disaster. Um,
Really? See, hold on, because look, you've obviously you got the pipes for it. You got the voice for it.
Here's the problem.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really follow the Penn State hockey team. They all looked exactly the same as far as size. They all had the white helmets on. The game was moving very fast, and I was just it was like the longest 20 minutes of my life, and I had no desire to go back and try it again.
Well, hockey, that's a really hard sport for it to be your first and only
Yeah, I'll
play-by-play
say.
assignment. The fastest sport that there is. I always marveled at how Jim Jackson, the longtime Flyers
Mhm.
play-by-play guy, when he did Phillies games for a little while. He was, I guess, pre and post game,
Yeah,
and he did a couple innings of
yep,
play-by-play on the
2 years
radio.
ago, yeah, yeah.
He did the fastest sport known to man and the slowest sport,
That is
and he
true.
and he was great at both.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no more hockey for me, that's for sure. Although I will listen to Jim Jackson and Brian Boucher rejoining him now as
Which is a
color
great
man.
hire, by the way. Great
Yeah,
hire.
yeah. Everybody loves Bouche.
Yep.
All right, I know that your sports show on PHL 17, just like my situation here, gives you the opportunity to talk to a lot of great Philly athletes and media folks, and we've even had some of the same favorites. You mentioned Larry Anderson, Merrill Reese, Mike Sealski, Bernie Perrant. For me, was just a great get. I kind of, met him several times and got to know his wife Jeannie a little bit.
Yep.
So I knew she handled all his
Great
booking and
people.
everything, and I just basically badgered her for about 6 months, and she finally made it happen. So I got to talk to Bernie in 2019, and as you'd expect, he was terrific. Who are some of your favorites to talk with?
Well, you mentioned Bernie. Bernie is one of my favorites. In fact,
Yeah.
I wanted Bernie to be my final guest on my
Mm,
last show, and he was. And as he always is, he was fantastic. We had a lot of fun. LA is one of my favorites.
mhm,
There are certain guests who you can always call upon, who are always good, who
mhm.
always bring the information, who always bring a lot to the table. Mike Sealski, you mentioned, he's one of them.
Love Mike.
Marcus Hayes is another one. Devon Gibbons, who just left the Fanatic, he was anytime I had him on, he was always fantastic.
We
What
talked
else?
before we went live about Ray Didinger,
Oh
and I
God,
mentioned
yeah.
to you, Ray Didinger has been on with Bill Furman and me 22 times over the last 9 years, and he's just the best. I mean, he is a Hall of Famer, and he's a Hall of Fame person as well.
He's unbelievable. I mean, and I had him on twice, and I didn't really I don't know him probably nearly as well as you do, but I was so impressed with how a guy who has achieved so much. I mean, like you said, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
The guy is so down to earth, and it's like he doesn't think he's that big of a deal, but he is.
Oh
He
yeah,
is that big of a deal, and what
he sucks at
impressed
retirement though.
that he does, yeah. But what impresses me about him, I mean, you think about all he's done and the different medias that he's worked in. I mean, he's obviously excelled in newspapers. He was a success on television. He was a success on radio.
Mhm.
He's a successful author. I mean, everything this guy tries to do. Oh, and a playwright.
Yeah,
Everything this guy tries to do, he not only does it well, he does it unbelievably well.
that is true.
He's an impressive guy, very impressive
Oh,
guy.
also on your last show, in addition to Bernie Brunt, you had the great Angelo Cataldi, and that was a real fun chat too. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Angelo was great. He's got a book coming out in a couple of months, and
Yep.
it was a wonderful conversation. And I again, he's a guy 33 years at WIP hosting the morning show, which anybody who knows anything about radio, 33 years is like, 8 or 9 or 10 different lifetimes for somebody in radio. And he lasted that long. And he lasted that long for good reason because he worked hard. He's good on the air. And I had a blast talking to him. I mean, he was such a cool guy.
Hey, I mentioned you can also be found on Oldies XL, a really good website and app for folks who like to listen to those great top 40 hits from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Are you on there every weekend?
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. I work 7 days a week between all my jobs. You know how it is. I mean, again, not to be cliche, but this business kind of gets in your blood, and even though you work a lot of jobs, you work a lot of hours, it doesn't feel like you're working because you like what you do. I've always loved doing music radio,
Mhm.
and music radio these days has changed. They've taken a lot of the personality out of it. Some of the DJs you hear on the air aren't live. They've been pre-recorded. Not only are they pre-recorded, but in many cases, they're pre-recorded from hundreds or thousands of miles away, and
Mhm.
they don't really know Philadelphia. So Oldies XL is kind of a throwback. And I go there and I have a blast because I can go on the air and I can be myself and I can be a personality and have fun. And I'm a music guy. I love good music. And every weekend I'm there, I'll hear a couple of songs that I haven't heard in a long time. And that's pretty
Well,
cool.
I actually listened for a little while on Saturday, and I heard a bunch of great tunes. And then I heard a not so great tune, Chewy Chewy by the Ohio Express.
Yeah, well, there's
I'm sure somebody loved that song at some point. It wasn't
you,
me, though.
you can't bat 1,000. That's wasn't one of my favorites either. Yeah, there's a couple of songs like the bubblegum type
Yeah.
music. I'm not really into, but um, especially like 60s music, you don't really hear on the radio anymore. Even a lot of 70s songs you don't hear on the air anymore. But that's why specialty places, whether it's internet radio or satellite radio, that's why they're becoming so popular because I've always said that good music is timeless,
Mhm.
and just because a song came out 50 years ago doesn't mean it's not a good song. Doesn't mean you can't still play it.
Random question. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Oh my god. I got to think about that.
Now, see, that's something you should know right off the bat.
Okay, all right. Okay, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh. And it was a concert that my parents took me to. I was a kid.
Mhm.
All right. It was the Temptations and the Four Tops
That's not bad, actually.
at do you remember the Valley Forge Music Fair?
I remembered. I was never actually there, but I do remember it certainly.
It was, in my opinion, the best venue that this area ever had. It was a theater in the round setting.
Yeah.
There wasn't a bad seat in the place, and the stage. So again, it was theater in the round, a round stage, and the stage spun slowly as the performers. So everybody got to, you
Oh, okay.
eventually got to see
Yeah.
the front of the performer. So yeah, it was a great venue. I think there's like a shopping center
Mhm.
on that ground now. But Valley Forge Music Fair, Temps and the Tops.
That's a good show. My very first concert, 1976 in beautiful Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Kiss. Of course, you were just a toddler in 1976. I know that, but
I was 3 years old.
yeah.
But
All right.
Kiss must have been a great show, man.
Oh, yeah.
Where was it in
It was
Harrisburg?
at the Harrisburg Farm Show Arena, which I believe is still there and
It
still occasionally does shows.
it is still there, yes.
Yeah. Hey, last thing I noticed on Facebook last week that with your sports scene show off the air, someone mentioned to you about the possibility of doing a podcast, and you said something like, "You know me well." So, is there a Jason Lee sports podcast on the way, perhaps?
There is. I don't
Ah,
know when, just because honestly I'm so busy. I don't know, but it's pretty cool. It's actually going to be. It's a project I'm doing with my son. My son Ethan is 20 years old, and he's really into. He's got his own company called Blue Eye Visual,
mhm.
and they do like video, and he's into like film. And I'm biased, of course, but he's a really creative kid. Well, he's not a kid anymore. One of the reasons I was sad that sports scene was going away was because I really enjoyed what you and I are doing right now. I
Mhm.
enjoyed the interviews. I enjoyed the conversations. I don't even call them interviews; they're conversations. I mean, you're the same way, Chet. You have a guest on. You don't go through a bullet point Q&A. You have a conversation, and I loved having the conversations with the people that I had on the air. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to do a sports interview slash conversation podcast. The tentative title is the Sports Convo with Jason Lee. So
Ah, I
be on
like
the
it.
lookout for that wherever you get your podcasts.
I like it. We broke some news here tonight. That's great.
There you go.
Well, Jason, as I knew it would be, this was a blast. You want to promote anything or tell people where they can follow you on social media?
Well, you mentioned Oldies
Yeah,
XL,
yeah.
Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., oldiesxl.com.
Check that out.
Uh,
Good.
I pop up occasionally still on PHL 17 Morning News. I produce the 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock hours, but I'll pop up on camera from time to time. The
Mhm.
news goes from 5 to 9, and I'm really proud of the product that we put out. I really think it's good, and I think you'll like it. On X, whatever they're calling it, on X
Yeah.
and Instagram, it's at Jason Lee on air. So give me a follow. I'll follow you back.
Jason Lee, this was awesome. Let's do it again sometime.
Chet, my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on. Appreciate it.